Welcome to part 10 of this video series. Today we're going to be discussing anchoring. And thank you for your support in making these videos. And if you haven't done so already, please remember to like and subscribe. Okay, so today I will not be discussing permanent moorings because I did so on my last video. I will put a link below to the entire series just in case you missed one. Anchoring a boat is a highly divisible subject. Everyone seems to have their own opinion on what is the best type of anchor and rode. Truth be told, there is no right answer, since there are so many different factors. The only time I could say there's a right choice is if you always anchor in the exact same spot. You see, one anchor might be right for a weedy bottom, and a different anchor would be right for a packed sand bottom. The problem we face as small liveaboards is we don't have enough space on board to carry a whole selection of anchors. Rods or anchor lines is another issue. Anyone will tell you the best rode is a heavy all-chain rode. But again, most small liveaboard boats can't handle the size and weight of an all-chain rode. So let's start quickly with anchor rods. Most small liveaboards use some form of rope-chain combination. You can use an all-rope rode, but having some form of chain at the end helps with what's called bottom abrasion. That is where the rode wears out by dragging on the ground. It also helps by adding weight at the bottom. This somewhat helps keep your anchor horizontal, plus it helps with stopping shock. As your boat pulls it, it has to lift the weight before pulling tight. Where the rope and chain connect to each other is done in one of two ways, either with a spliced eye and shackle, which is the most common, or having a chain spliced right onto the rope. The issues with using a spliced eye and shackle is, one, they can get caught in your bow roller, or windlass, but even more dangerous is because they go through many different temperature zones, like hot air to cold water, the metal expands and contracts, which makes it easy for the shackle pin to become loose. However, there is a way to fix this, and that's to simply take a bit of brass or stainless wire and tie the shackle pin to the shackle itself. This way the pin cannot rotate. Then you never have to worry about it. Never ever use a quick link. There is no simple way of seizing these, and they can become undone very easily. Just like mooring lines, rope rods should always be made of nylon. It has the highest amount of stretch to stop shock, and it doesn't break down in sunlight like other ropes. I'm not going to get too much into the diameter as this video series is about small liveaboard boats, and unless your boat is unusually heavy, a 3/8 inch line will suffice. But if you are a heavier boat, you might want to use a 1/2 inch line. There is no such thing as too strong. You should also use twisted line as opposed to braided, as it has a lot more stretch. Now the big one, anchors. It seems every year I read about a new and even better type of anchor on the market. However, you can basically break it down into two groups, either a fluke anchor or a plow, sometimes called a scoop anchor. The most popular of these two types of anchors is a fluke anchor, which can also be called a lightweight or Danforth. These are light and easy to use, and they stow flat for easier storage. They hold well in mud or sand. It has excellent holding power to weight ratio, which means you can use a lighter anchor compared to other type of anchors. But they do not hold well in grassy or on rocky surfaces. They are more prone to foul on rocks or even your own anchor rode. Manson Supreme, CQR, Rockna, Delta, and Claw are types of plow and scoop anchors. They have the best all-around holding ability in varying bottom conditions. They generally reset themselves easily if the wind or current changes directions. The newest designs, like the Manson or the Rockna anchors, include round roll bars that self-right the anchor, automatically turning it right side up. Plow or scoop anchors hold more effectively in grass, mud, and sand. They do not have projecting flukes that can foul easily, but their shape makes stowing them much more awkward. Using a bow roller is the best solution for storing them. I personally have always used the plow as my primary anchor. I also have a Danforth, which I use in certain conditions, but I can also move it around to the stern of the boat to use it as a stern anchor. Speaking of stern anchors, if you're anchored in a spot where you do not have space to swing, you're going to need a stern anchor to hold you in place. These anchors do not need to be as large as your main anchor. A lot of people use fluke-style anchors because they're easier to store. You can even hang them from a railing. You rarely have to carry as much rode for your stern, because if you're in a spot where you cannot swing, then chances are it's not very deep. As far as scope goes, scope being the amount of line to play out while anchoring, this depends on a few things. The general consensus is simply the more line you put out, the better. The more you put out, the less of an angle the line will be, and the more horizontal the anchor will be. Having an anchor more horizontal always helps it hold a lot better. For the most part, this is very accurate. However, if you're in just 5 feet of water and you put out like 500 feet of line, you'll have a lot more swing than you normally would have space for. For example, if you're in a busy anchorage and all the other boats put out significantly less than you, instead of all the boats swinging together, you would crash into the other boats. If you're alone and the wind swings you, you can end up a long ways from where you want to be, even in a busy channel. The general rule is the minimum your road should provide is at least a 5-to-1, but preferably 7-to-1 scope. Scope is the length of the anchor road divided by the water depth and the freeboard. For example, if you're in 25 feet of water and you have a freeboard of 5 feet, you want to set an anchor with a 5-to-1 scope, you'll need a 150-foot road. Now, of course, this is just a guide. If you're anchoring in a little sheltered bay and you're not worried at all about wind or current, you can use a lot less. There are a lot of different techniques people use to set their anchor, but the one that has always worked for me is simply figuring out where you want to anchor, then find the depth of that spot, so you can calculate how much road to let out. Drop the anchor and about 100 feet of road, then tie it off to the front of the boat. Use the engines in reverse to back down on it for 45 seconds to a minute. This makes sure the anchor is really set and you know it's going to hold. Then just simply adjust the amount of road you need to get the proper scope you need. To retrieve a stuck anchor, position the boat directly over the anchor and tie it to a cleat on the bow of your boat. Gently idle your boat directly into the wind or current. The force will pull the anchor in the opposite direction from which you originally set it. This might be enough to free the anchor. Where I anchor in the summers is full of old logs from back when the river was a major logging route, and my anchor gets stuck on them constantly. After losing a couple expensive anchors, and since I anchor in always about the same depth, I use what's called a trip line. It's simply just a rope attached to the front of the anchor, the crown, and that leads up to a floating buoy on the surface. A lot of anchors have a place built in where you can easily attach a trip line. And if it gets stuck, I just pull on the buoy and it frees it. In closing, I would like to say that choosing your road anchor combination can be one of the most important decisions you can make on a boat. If your anchor drags or fails, you could be placed in a very dangerous situation. So please make sure you take the time to properly research which anchor road combination is best for you. Thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video series on living aboard a small boat. If you have, then please subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you.